Do y'all think that the better team won, or was this just a bad game?
They got a cloud hanging over their head.
You execute when you're supposed to execute, and we didn't do that. They were the better team in that game.
Well, it's feeling like 2005 in Athens. For Tennessee, it feels like it did just a couple years ago when they went on that big run, maybe. I don't know. And for Bama, well, this is pretty much the perennial feeling they have every year after that beatdown of LSU, a good LSU team on the road. Luckily, the Mark Richt era has taught me not to place too much of an importance on football in this life. So I'm good. Jesse, how are you?
I mean, what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. I am both shook and ecstatic because, I mean, we'll get to it, but I can honestly say I did not see that coming.
Right. Matt, how you doing?
Are we still talking about football, or are we talking about other things? Just putting that out there. It's been a week. Needless to say, there's been a lot of twists and turns. I feel like I'm watching some sort of ridiculous like CW teen drama or something. Like it's just I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm completely lost. I have no idea what's happening. We to quote The Last of Us, for those of you that have never played that game, it's a video game on PlayStation. Endure and survive. That's the name of the game. Endure and survive.
And
It was also a really great show.
I was going to say, apparently a good
Yes.
show. I have not watched it, but those
Shows
who have,
shows really good. Really good. The game, in my opinion, is just a teensy bit better.
a little bit better.
But show's really good.
I hear you. Anyway, before we go any further, Blackbeard Spice, shameless plug, my brother's spice company. You want to go there and check out the different spices that they have. They just came out with a chimichurri, which most people are familiar with as a sauce, right? But they actually have a dry version you could use as a dry rub, or you can mix, I believe it's olive oil and apple cider vinegar together to make the sauce. It'll absorb it. Anyways, unrelated to SEC football, but everybody needs to know about all that cool stuff. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the games from last week.
Wait. Hold on, Wes. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait. That's an important point. That is an important
Important
point, and I think we should take some time to talk about it.
Point of order.
It's important to season your food.
It
Because
is.
there is no reason why in the 21st century you should have bland chicken.
No
That
reason.
should not be a thing. There should
Absolutely
be
no
no
reason.
reason to have bland vegetables. That shouldn't be a thing. Put some seasoning on things.
And
It's
it doesn't take much most of the time, right? It's
It doesn't.
just
And we are talking outside of salt and pepper.
right.
Yes. We're talking
I mean,
things
that
that
can
actually have
help,
flavor.
but yes, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. But that
Yes.
shouldn't be the stars of your show.
Shouldn't be the only thing. No.
Get crazy. Go with something exotic. If you can't pronounce it, it's probably going to taste great. Just
Probably
go
going to be good. I like where this show's going already. So
for it. Yeah, already.
All right.
off the tracks.
Love it.
Send us on, Wes.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. Well, so first game we're going to talk about Georgia at Ole Miss. Ole Miss winning this one 28-10. Jesse only wanted to pick Ole Miss, so good
I
job.
felt that a lot this week. And by a lot, I mean twice, but
Well, there's only
Well, I mean,
like 5
There's
games.
only 5
Yeah.
matchups. I mean, you came out ahead.
Percentage-wise, you did really good. So the first little bit went exactly as you would like if you're a Georgia fan. We had that interception right off the bat and it scored a touchdown on a short field. And then Ole Miss kind of got into a rhythm with their backup quarterback, and then Dart came back in, and then he kept it up. It was kind of funny though when the backup was in. I was like, "Can we put Dart back in? Because this is not working out well." But it didn't seem to matter in the long run. Again, I'm not going to summarize the whole game, but again, Georgia is on the bad side of the turnover ratio. Fumbled the ball 4 times in this game, 2 by Nate Frazier, 2 by Carson Beck. And then the pick by Beck on a deflected ball. So the offensive line, I think a lot of people have seen the video that's out there where they're just basically letting people blow by them like a bunch of turnstiles out there. Nobody could hold on to the ball, as I mentioned.
But by the way, Wes, if we could
Yeah.
take just a second to kind of talk about that play. I went
Yeah.
back and looked at that, and if you watch that play, it looks like what happened is I think Beck, when he steps to the line, makes a couple of alterations, calls an audible. I'm not sure what happens.
Maybe like a screen.
Maybe, but there seemed to have been some sort of miscommunication between that guard and that tackle on the right
Oh
hand
yeah, it's
side, because
totally miscommunication.
it looked like both of them were trying to get to that second level to get the linebacker, and they just let the tackle on the defensive end through. So
Yeah.
I think it was more of a not it's don't put it as a lack of effort on Georgia's
Yeah.
fault. I just think it was an
So
execution issue.
whether it was a skill issue or a communication issue, it's still awful, an awful
Mhm.
look.
I mean, but
Um,
that wasn't the only play
right,
That's
that
yeah,
they
true.
that's
were
just the one that
less
sort
than
of
satisfactory.
Hmm.
encapsulated the issues that were going on.
Maybe they
Um,
just feel like rain.
maybe that could be that too.
I hope
Uh,
it rains Saturday in Athens then.
So here's an interesting stat. Georgia lost while scoring only 10 points for the first time since 2016, Kirby's first year. Also, another stat that I saw. This is the first team that Georgia has lost to that has not been named Alabama since what 2020, I think, or
Hmm.
2021 or something like that. It's been a minute. Just kind of the game was really just an embarrassment if you followed through the whole of it. The only thing that Ole Miss really did poorly all night was storm the field with the time still remaining.
I have
Um,
thoughts and feelings. I
I
shall wait.
I knew this was going to be a rough game when I realized that they could lose and still be in the playoff hunt. Georgia just absolutely refuses to get up for games when they don't have to. I've talked about this with many people where we lack playmakers. There is no person on the team right now where you just say, "Oh, we just got to get it into so and so's hands. They're going to make a play." There's no one on the team like that where you can just say they're going to step up and make the big play. It used to piss me off when people would say, "Well, how can Georgia survive without Brock Bowers or Lad McConkey?" Because I was like, "This is the highest level of college football. You have to just have the next person step up, right?" But it really is true. No one has stepped up for Georgia all year long. The coaching, the play calling is an issue as it has been all year long. I don't even really know where you begin fixing this. And I've heard people talk about where we have to adjust our thinking, with the new playoff, these two losses, obviously we still have the season in front of us, but I'm not saying that that's not the case. What I am saying is the product on the field right now looks really bad, and it's looked really bad for a long time, and it's finally caught up to Georgia in the form of a loss. Obviously, we had the Bama loss, but that as well. Um, Ole Miss was just flat out better. We listened to them talk about Lane, how he started this win a year ago, where he realized that Ole Miss could not hang with Georgia or other teams up top like that. So they went to the portal. They did all these things trying to shore up, deficiencies that they had on the team. To his credit, he did what he needed to do to shore those things up. I'm not saying Georgia can't improve and do better, but this was a huge setback, not only for this season, but also for this program that had high hopes coming into the season. So, and then at the end, just an absolutely awful look for Carson Beck. I'm not expecting him to be in tears on the sideline after a loss. You know what I mean? Whatever. But giggling with your teammates after an utter embarrassment is not the look that you want from the supposed leader of your team. I'm just going to say it. I think NIL has really hurt Georgia. But for the record, I'm not against NIL, and we'll talk more about NIL in the opinion segment. There is a nuanced conversation that can be had about NIL. But Jesse, let's start with you first. What do you think about? What were your thoughts on this game?
I mean, first of all, I called it.
You did quite literally. You did.
Not to rub that in, but I think this, as you mentioned, this was a game that Lane Kiffin has been preparing for since the last time that these two teams met. He recognized that the line was not cutting it. And as you mentioned, he went to the portal, which is something that Lane Kiffin does very, very well. And he recruited the hell out of linemen that were going to help his team. And it showed because they got blown up at the line of scrimmage last year. And that didn't happen this time. It was actually a reversal. Georgia, I mean, I know that one play may be miscommunication, whatever, but their offensive line just did not show up the whole game. It wasn't just that
No.
play. I mean, they allowed 5 sacks for 40 yards lost. And yes, we can talk about Carson Beck, and he's obviously struggled. And I don't think he got in a rhythm, but his line was not giving him the protection that he needed in order to get in a rhythm. Obviously, he's not the best decision maker that we've seen. I think there's a little bit of that regression They talked about it a lot. The reporters talked about it a lot during the game of he kept saying he was so in his head and he was trying to force things and he was not thinking through everything. He was putting a lot of pressure on himself. And then this game and last game, he said he was kind of letting it go. That's great.
What did
But
Kirby say? Welcome to the SEC, baby.
yeah, exactly. Obviously turnovers killed Georgia and that's not great. Georgia's, don't get me wrong, we've never been in a 12-team playoff. So I cannot definitively say anything. I can't predict anything because I don't know. Nobody does. But Georgia could potentially be out of it unless they fix a lot of things. They are currently behind Texas A&M, Texas, and Tennessee, and they're only ahead of Ole Miss, Alabama, due to just playing one more SEC game than those two teams as it goes to, getting to the SEC championship and trying to get into a playoff. But if they don't clean things up against Tennessee, it could be an iffy spot to be in. And don't get me wrong, Georgia's had a tough schedule. Georgia is beat up, and I get that. But if you want to prove that you belong in a 12-team playoff, you got to make it work. It's like you said, it's like the next man up. And unfortunately, right now, Georgia's looking like Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers were a cheat code. And they're not making it work. I mean, and they are. I have Brock Bowers. He's great.
Right.
But that's the thing. Now, Ole Miss fans, hear me out. Okay, we've seen a lot of field storming, friends. You did it against us, all right? And when I was in college, you guys beat us 2 years in a row, one of which was in Oxford. You took your goalpost, you took it down the highway. It was a whole thing. We all know I'm not for the field storming. I think it's dangerous. I think it's stupid. Act like a grown-up. You have to let the game finish. If you are going to do it, if you are hell-bent on storming the field, taking down the goalpost, and just trudging it through town, more power to you. If you want to waste your school's money and increase your tuition, fine, fair, whatever. But I think it is so irresponsible to get on the field before the game is over. You are putting yourself in danger. You are putting your players in danger. My dog agrees. You are also putting the other team in danger. It's stressful. They've just lost. They want to leave. They're not in a good mindset. And you're just going to warm them. Also, your fans were pushing in on the interviewer and Lane Kiffin, and those poor state troopers are trying to keep you back so that she can do her job. Lane can finish what he needs to do. And you're just pushing and trying to get your phone in there. Grow up.
Did you see what Lane had to say about the storming the field while it was happening?
I saw that.
If you can read lips, go check it out.
I probably agree with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, those are my thoughts. Just let people do their jobs. There's no issue with being excited. You can be excited. You can be passionate. 100%. I love that. But you cannot do that at the risk of others' safety or inhibiting others from doing their job. Grow up.
Agreed. Matt, plenty of blame to go around in this one. What do you think?
I really don't feel like we can't really gild the lily more on this thing. I feel like we've said all we need to say. I do think that we do need to talk about Georgia's defense and how they gave up almost a first down every play in this particular game. They struggled with that, and I think that's a little worrisome, especially going into next week. And we know Tennessee, if they can hit their marks, they're hard to slow down offensively. If Nico's in, and if we can actually hit those marks, I think that Georgia's defense is going to have they got some things going on there, and they're going to have to tighten up on them. Beck's thrown, I think, 11 interceptions in the last 5 games or something like that. Is it? It
might be 12 now.
Is it 12 now?
I feel like it was 11 before, so probably 12 now.
That's a horrendous stat. And
I will say that pick was not his fault. However, ball security, the 2 fumbles also, and he was fighting for his life the whole night long, but still, ball security. Anyway,
I'm just curious as to what the story is there. I was actually talking to my assistant principal at work, and he tried to tell me that there's a thing where you get so deep into progressions that then you're going like back into, I don't know. There was some conversation had. I'm still not sold on Beck. His draft stock, he should have probably left last year. He's taken a real big hit. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for some of us, unfortunately for him. It is what it is. But the issue that I take with it is now you're looking like, well, Georgia, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I think I wrote it down when we get to our preview for next week. Georgia hasn't lost back-to-back SEC games since 2017. And coincidentally, in 2017, that first loss was at Ole Miss, and then that second one was at home against Tennessee. So maybe history repeats itself. We'll find out. But Ole Miss looks like if Ole Miss can get things going, they're going to be hard to beat, and Georgia has to lick their wounds, so to speak.
How did this team lose to Kentucky at home?
Listen, the day you figure that out is the day that we understand a lot more, because that doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
Maybe it was a case of looking ahead and
Could be.
not being fully prepared for that week. I mean, Lane's teams have always had a bad habit sometimes of having that one or two games every season that they just magically drop when they shouldn't. So,
and apparently motivation is a huge factor this year, especially. I mean, it always is, but I think when you can stand to drop a few more games or a game or two more than usual, motivation is key. So we'll see. All right, next is South Carolina at Vanderbilt. South Carolina winning this one handily, 28-7. Jesse, only one to pick South Carolina, so good job again. I don't know if y'all saw, but the Vandy pimp guy from SEC Shorts made an appearance at this game. They may not want him to show up ever again.
No, probably not.
Vandy Targetzi got to anchor down or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe they don't want to do all those festivities before the game. They just couldn't get that spark going on offense like they have. So on the other side, Rocket Sanders with 3 total touchdowns. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
I feel like we say this little soundbite every other week, but we're just a couple talking heads on the internet. No big woof. Vandy, we were rooting for you. We really were. I was really hoping that we could continue to build on that Vanderbilt success and maybe get up to, 7, 8 wins. But unfortunately, it's just really sad. And I wanted to see Vandy win, and they just couldn't pull this off. Carolina's defense did a great job of bottling up Pavia. When you look at his stat line, it's pretty rough. 16 for 31 for 166 yards. He had 13 carries for 65 yards. Not a great day for Diego Pavia. A little bit maybe of a letdown after last week against Auburn. But again, when you shut down Pavia, what else does Vanderbilt have to lean on? Not a whole lot. The other big takeaway from this is that Sanders-Sellers combo is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you do the math, and I'm not a math teacher, so I'm not good at it, it's like over almost 400 yards or 370 yards of total offense just between those two cats. I mean, if those two guys are going off, you're in for a really long afternoon. And unfortunately, Vanderbilt definitely was. I can tell you this much: I'm glad that Tennessee ain't playing Carolina this year, because those two are nasty. Whew, sheesh, that'd be a rough row to hoe there. So again, Carolina's sneaking around. They're floating around back there. Their head coach isn't coming out on TV saying they should be in the playoff like somebody else's head coach who we'll talk about. But something to think about.
Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. I think we're finally seeing Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders get in that groove. They're finally clicking. They're both healthy, and it shows. And what's really interesting in this game is Vanderbilt, as we've seen, they've led, their offense has led the SEC overall in time of possession. I mean, that's almost how they win games, is like they eat the clock on every possession and then they score. But it was like Sellers was controlling, he was managing the game very well. He controlled the time of possession for the Gamecocks, threw for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was nuts. We obviously talked about Rocket Sanders and his stats and how insane he was, but they shut down Pavia defensively, which was huge. They were able to control time of possession. So I think this is a great step for this Carolina team. They're bowl eligible. So this could get interesting. Things could get very, very interesting.
Carolina on a roll for sure. All
What are
right.
they? What are they sitting at right now? As far as
They are
their,
6-3, 4-3 in the SEC.
I mean, goodness gracious, you have a couple weird weekends over the next couple weekends. Carolina's in the mix.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
and even if you think about their losses, like they lost by like 1 point to Alabama. They
mhm.
haven't had disastrous
And
losses.
you could argue that, what was it, the LSU game without that bad call?
Yeah,
They could win that one as well. So
they could
Yeah.
have been very close. And for Vanderbilt, this is their biggest point differential in a loss this season.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Vandy's been hanging around with pretty much everybody. So
I'm glad we haven't played them. Whew. No, thank
Be
you.
glad.
that's right.
Fun.
All right, let's move to Mississippi State at number 7, Tennessee. Tennessee winning this one 33-14. Matt gets the point here. Tennessee taking care of business. Injury concern for Nico, but it appears that was precautionary. Matt, I'll let you go first on this one. Obviously, you have more to say on this one. What do you got?
Yeah, I have some things to say about this particular game. It felt like Tennessee kind of came out a little slow. Wes, you and I had the fortunate ability to watch this game together, so it was nice to get an outside opinion. But yeah, it felt like Tennessee kind of came out a little slow in the first quarter, and then, from there, they kind of took care of business. Again, this is the 9th game in a row where Tennessee has not given up more than 20 points. Again, that stat keeps flying up there. And again, I think that's a stat that we need to pay attention to. Now, I'm going to get to it a little bit later. I feel like that stat's going to get blown up this weekend, but we'll discuss in a moment. So Tennessee's defense comes out and takes care of business against a fairly anemic Mississippi State offense. Although they had their moments, they had a couple plays there where they ran it right up the gut, and I think this is the game, and one of the announcers said this as well. I think this is the game where we really notice some key injuries on defense that are really hurting us, especially at the linebacker position. I think that's kind of been one thing that we have to keep in mind there as well. I feel like O-line, who was much aligned at the beginning of the season and very much last season, was definitely another unit that was talked very badly about. I feel like they played really well in this game. No sacks given up in this one. 3 tackles for losses out of 64 plays. That's a pretty good percentage when you're looking at it. Offensively, I felt like that was really good. Like you mentioned, Wes, there were a couple of scary injury moments. Dylan Sampson went down with what looked like an ankle or knee injury for a second. Luckily, he was able to bounce back, and he did bounce back. Nico also getting knocked out. Pretty rough hit there at the end of the first quarter. There was talk about a concussion. There was a lot of, I hate to use the term, but there was a lot of fake news on Vol Twitter. Some people were saying he had a brain bleed. Some people were saying he had a concussion. Some people say that it was a broken rotator cuff, like all kinds of crazy stuff. Everybody freaked out and lost their minds, which, by the way, Vol Twitter, if you're listening, relax. I feel like we're saying that a lot this year. Y'all need to relax. It's not that serious. Just let the kids play. But Dylan Sampson, I think, is another one that we have to talk about. 30 carries for 149 yards and 1 touchdown. He's been over 100 yards in every single game except for the Oklahoma game.
Is that a career high for him?
Rushing
yards?
I think so. Yeah,
I thought it was. Yeah,
he leads the conference. He's busted school records. He's on track. He's on track to get really close to the total touchdown record for the SEC in a season, which I think is held by one of the Bama running backs. I think it was Derrick Henry, if I remember correctly. I think he had 28 touchdowns. So we're getting there. I don't know if we'll get there, but the fact of the matter is that Dylan Sampson, once again, is not in contention or discussion for the Heisman. So, again, it's a useless hunk of metal. I've said that. It hasn't mattered since 1956 or 54 or whenever it was when Hornung from Notre Dame on a losing team that won like 3 games that year beat out Johnny Majors. Whatever.
And I think we all remember
it is
that,
what it is.
so.
Yes, we do. And I'm gonna say that until the day I die. It's a useless hunk of metal, and the New York Athletic Club are losers. Anyway, that being said as well, another name that I want to shout out in this game is Dante Thornton. He had, I think, 73 yards or something along those lines.
104. Receiving?
Yes, I was thinking Squirrel White that had that. Yeah, he also had a good night tonight, and I keep waiting for that Jalen Hyatt, breakout moment from Squirrel White. I'm still not getting it, and I'm hoping it comes soon. But, all in all, I felt like this was a pretty good win for Tennessee. You took care of business. Everybody came through it mostly unscathed. Hopefully Nico will be available this weekend against Georgia. We just keep going from here.
Georgia's
But
secondary, you may get that breakout moment next week. Anyways,
I still don't. We're going to talk about the Georgia game a little bit later, Wes.
yeah. Jesse, your thoughts?
I mean, I think Matt kind of covered it. This went exactly the way that I anticipated. It's a Mississippi State team that is doing their best to rebuild and make some
They're
progress.
trying.
But Tennessee's just too lights out. They weren't going to hang with them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move to Alabama at number 14, or yeah, number 11 Alabama at number 14 LSU. Bama winning this one 42-13. Matt getting the point here. So much for Death Valley Voodoo at night, man. More whiplash this season. Is Bama good? Are they not good? You can ask the same question about LSU. Who knows? But I do know LSU had no answers for Jalen Milroe, especially on the ground. 185 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Jesse, what are your thoughts on this one?
I I was stunned. I think I can't remember my exact prediction from last week. I picked us to win, but I was not certain, and it was by like 1 point. Okay, I anticipated this to be very anxiety inducing, and boy, was it actually just thrilling. Um, the rain was coming down. The stage was set. I am going to slightly derail us for one quick second and just say to the governor of Louisiana, at what point did you think it was an acceptable and necessary decision to import a tiger from Florida to come to your game in a small horse trailer and sit on the sidelines? First of all, I have issues with that. I'm an animal person. I have issues with it. Exotic pet trade, let's not do it. We all know about Joe Exotic. Like, let's just stop with the tiger thing. I think Mike the Tiger needs a friend. It's irresponsible to have him by himself.
I'll never financially recover from this. Anyways.
Yeah, but to
Guess what?
to then go
That's what
and
Jalen Milroe said on Saturday. Guess what?
import a tiger? That's so stressful for that poor tiger. Like, how irresponsible. Again, grow up. I'm sorry, Louisiana governor, grow up. Okay.
So I'm completely ignorant. Did they not have Mike there already?
Mike was on campus. Mike lives on campus.
Mike has his own little enclosure right next to the stadium. I don't think they bring him to the
And
game.
he's
They
not allowed
don't.
to. Okay. Well, that's an
They
interesting
brought,
choice then, like you
they
said.
literally imported Omar the tiger.
Omar. They won't
And
bring him back for another game. I'll
No.
tell you that right
I'm
now.
not
No.
kidding. Well, you know what? That's what you get for importing a tiger. Stop.
They
Stop
brought in
with
the
exotic
bad
pet trade.
voodoo with that.
Oh, I can't. That sent me over the rails. But regardless, Alabama came out firing. And that's exactly what we needed to do. In a game like this, in a place like Death Valley, that is so loud, and one where we got a taste of it in Neyland because we were getting so many penalties we could not hear. They altered the clap, as you probably saw, and Jalen Milroe signaled with his knee. And then they did the tap to the center. It worked so much better. We cleaned up a lot on penalties because of that. I think it was a really wise decision. We actually had really good ball security, despite the fact that it was pouring. And I was nervous about that, but we came out firing. We got a really great quick start, which is what we needed. We needed to get momentum on our side and then keep it. And that was something that we haven't seen a performance like this from Alabama since the first half of the Georgia game. And that's what made me nervous, is because we saw it in the first half of the Georgia game and then it was gone in the second half. And we just couldn't play that full 4 quarters. We played 4 full quarters here. And that was, again, something that was really inspiring to me. But again, before the Georgia game, we had 2 weeks to prepare. Before this game, we had 2 weeks to prepare. So I need us to get that in 1 week, like get that preparation, get that execution in 1 week. But you mentioned it. They had absolutely no answer for Jalen Milroe. They had no answer. There was nothing they could do. I was nervous that we were going to continue to rely on those large, explosive pass plays to Ryan Williams. And we didn't have to. We didn't see much of Ryan Williams, to be honest. We got the run game going. It was super effective. And half of it, if not more than half, was Jalen Milroe. He logged 12 carries, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. And that was from 39, 10, 19, and 72 yards out. It was incredible to watch. He became a new school record for single season rushing touchdowns by a quarterback, which is not surprising, but he did beat out the Jalen Hurts record there. So he is putting up incredible stats by people, quarterbacks that we've had that are super successful, even now into the NFL. So that was really, really great to see. And then another thing was our defense. I felt like our defense was finally clicking. We knew that we had a young secondary, and we've talked about that. There's a lot of freshmen on the secondary, but they were keeping up. I mean, they were there. They were doing their jobs, and in a very hostile environment, a very loud environment, you have environmental factors, and it was amazing. They knew that they had to take care of Garrett Nussmeier. We knew that pass rush was going to be a thing, and I felt like we finally executed on that. I was actually pretty pleased with the play calling overall, offensively and defensively, which is not something that I thought I would say. Our offensive coordinator was clearly very pleased with the play calling because he didn't finish the game in the booth. He was already down on the sidelines. It was an empty booth.
Wow.
For us, which was kind of funny. LSU did not stick around, both on the field or in the stands. The fourth
Saw
quarter,
that.
very
It was a bad look.
It was not great. You heard only Alabama cheers. That stadium started out so loud, and it was very, very quiet afterwards.
It reminded me a lot of that 22 Tennessee LSU game when Tennessee kickoff was like 1:00 and they ran every Tiger fan out of there by 2:30. It was really bad then too.
Yep. And then, I mean, like I said, this is a LSU team that is known for passing. They have a great passing offense, and they just could not get anything done. I was super pleased overall with everything from this game. I hope that we can continue to play games like this. I think if we do play games like this, we are not only a playoff contender, but a pretty scary one if we execute like this. Now, we've seen that we don't always execute like this, and we're not going to get 2 weeks to prepare every time. It's almost a little bit like Georgia, where I feel like we need some sort of motivation, because this was very much a playoff elimination game.
It was.
Like, I don't think a team with 3 losses gets in, and we knew that. And so I don't know, maybe they'll just carry that pressure into the rest of the season, which should be fine with Mercer, Oklahoma, and then Auburn, although Auburn always makes me worry. But I'm feeling more hopeful than I was.
Right. You talk about no Ryan Williams, who didn't need him. I mean, they only passed for 109 yards in the air, but didn't need an air attack. They're dominating on the ground, so why mess with a good thing, right?
I know.
By the way, Jesse, your pick was Bama 24-21. Matt was Bama 28-24, so he only got you by 1 point on the differential. So.
I need every win I can get at this point. So
that's okay. Honestly, I will lose the pick 'em to have that win. That's fine. Right. That's fine.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
I really don't feel like there's anything else to say aside from where the heck has this Jalen Milroe been all season? Thank God he didn't play like that against Tennessee, because it would have been a completely different ball game if he had been. Death Valley at night falls flat. That's a rarity. That doesn't happen very often anymore at all. So I'm kind of
does not like the exotic pet trade.
No, apparently that was some bad juju. So don't bring that back in here again. If I'm LSU's head coach, I want no Tigers at games anymore. No more. The thing that we didn't really talk about that I feel like we need to talk about is Garrett Nussmeier. You want to talk about somebody that's on the same trajectory as Carson Beck right now? He's an interception machine. I just did the quick math. He threw 2 against Alabama, 3 against Texas A&M, 0 against Arkansas, 2 against Ole Miss, and 2 against USA. So in the last 5 games, they've had like 11 or 12 interceptions. That's a bad stat line, and that kind of makes you wonder, Why are we having issues with this? A lot of it, I think, comes down to offensive line play. If you ever noticed, or if you've ever watched an LSU game, Nussmeier's on the move a lot because those pockets will collapse around him. And I think maybe it's just a question of stress throwing and trying to find a way to fit it into a really tight window. And I'm sorry, kid, you're not Brett Favre. You can't just chunk it in there and hope for the best. It's going to end up biting you, and it's bit him over the last couple weeks. And I think that's something LSU has to keep in mind going forward.
Yep.
Also, if you did not watch Game Day, go back and watch the Malachi Moore story. His little friendship with the little girl Henrietta. If you want to cry, watch that. There was a lot of crying.
There were
cry moments.
Yeah, the last couple weeks have been rough on Game Day. I think they have to do that to make up for the silliness that is Pat McAfee. And
they have to counteract something.
I mean, I cried during the Malachi Moore, and then when they brought out the Ben tribute, I
didn't watch Game Day this week specifically because I knew I could not watch.
I thought we were safe. I was like, we're getting towards the end. It's fine. It was not fine.
Not fine.
We were not okay.
We're not okay. I was like, guys, I have nothing left to give. Stop.
Yeah. They had to do that for Ben though. They had to do it sort of tribute.
I just like Chris Fowler brought it up during the Alabama LSU game and was talking, and I was like, can we just let Kirby?
I know he's going to start crying in the booth.
Cry in the middle of a broadcast, like
right.
By the way, it has Ben been coming around like the last couple of years, or it's just been this season? Because I don't remember.
Apparently, it's been more often
around the past couple of years, but it's like just hit Instagram.
Really?
Right.
See, I don't recall.
Because he talked about how lonely it was in hotel rooms and things like that. So he was like, I'm going to bring my dog with me and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, so he's been around for a little bit. All right, let's talk about Oklahoma at Missouri. Mizzou winning this one 30-23. Matt and I had the same differential. Had to do math. I get the point here. Sorry, Matt. After a fairly boring game for the most part, 2 scooping scores in the last 2 minutes of this game, including the game winner by Zion Young. So here's a stat. Oklahoma fumbled the ball 6 times.
6.
I think I counted 6. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. In this game, lost it 4 times. So they lose the turnover battle here 4-1. That is wild.
Not a good stat.
Not a good stat. Matt, let's start with you first on this one because I know you got thoughts on the game, and then obviously Drinky's comments afterwards.
Once again, Drinky continues to be insufferable. I know that we just had our friends from a Missouri podcast on last weekend, and I was on my best behavior. I behaved myself, but man, he can't just take things and let people enjoy them. He has to get a sound bite in. He has to make himself look like an ass. Like he can't not do that stuff, and it drives me bonkers. After the game, they interviewed him. He said that, I can't remember the exact verbiage. I was trying to find it a second ago, couldn't find it. Still in the playoff hunt. Buddy, you ain't even close to the playoff hunt. You're barely a top 25 team. Go have a seat. I don't know who in the world is penciling them into the damn playoff, because I know it ain't me, and I know it ain't you two guys. So who's bringing Missouri? Nobody's bringing
Missouri.
Missouri.
Offense to Oklahoma, but this ain't the powerhouse Oklahoma that we've seen in years past. They've got tons of injuries, so not a ton to brag about.
They're playing with a bunch of their top end of their first string players are not in the game, even their second string players. But man, what a blow for Oklahoma! It looked like they were going to finally get a little bit of momentum in SEC play, and then it just gets snatched out from underneath them. This transition to the SEC has been rough for Oklahoma. I mean, we knew it was going to be a bit of a transition, but man, it's been a real nut cruncher for them. And like you said, Wes, that's a lot of fumbles. And you can't put the ball in the dirt that many times and expect to walk out with a win. You just can't.
No. Jesse?
I mean, I don't understand how. I mean, I get a win's a win. You're celebrating every week. Like, yay. But I guess for me, it would be a little hard to celebrate winning in the last, minute against a team that fumbled, 5 or 6 times and turned over the ball 4 times.
Yeah.
To me,
look, Drinky puts his pants on and he probably claps for himself.
I'm like, I don't think you, I I don't know that you're in playoff conversations. Like, I don't think people are thinking of you if at any point during the
Oh.
season you get shut out.
I mean, I get what he's doing as a coach. You want to talk up your team and you're trying to get your team hyped out there for whoever's looking at this as a committee. But at the same time, it's like, come on, dude.
They're not dumb.
Yeah.
He's trying so hard to be Steve Spurrier. He's trying so hard. He is Temu Steve Spurrier. That's what he is. He's Temu Steve Spurrier. He's
All
got
right.
all the sound bites
He's got all
with
the sound
none of the
bites.
wins. I've said my
Steve
piece.
Spurrier.
I don't know what I hate more, Drinky, Beamer, or the Heisman Trophy. All three of them suck.
Oh man! Speaking of Spurrier in Florida, Florida at Texas. I don't really have anything to say to this one. Texas dominated 49-17. We expected this to happen. Florida had to start their guy who was eating ice cream a couple of weeks ago. So I mean, this was expected. I have nothing more to add to that. Do y'all want to say anything?
No.
Listen, it is the optics of the week that you decide that your AD is going to come out with a big thing and say,
Oh
we
yeah,
fully
that
support
was
Billy Napier. He's going to be our head coach next year. And then you get curb stomped by Texas on national TV in front of God and everyone. You're just like, oof, that's such a bad look.
that
Such
was
a bad look.
interesting timing because they knew that
So
this was
bad.
probably going to happen too. In addition to that, so.
Mm.
All right, so that's it for the games from last week. So pick 'em, I've got 35, Jesse's got 33, Matt's got 21. So still lots of games to be played. Let's do helmet stickers. Matt, who are your helmet sticker recipients for the week?
I was gonna go with Jalen Milrow, and then you two stole him. I think I had to go with Quinn Ewers, 19 for 27 for 333 yards and 5 touchdowns is a pretty good day at the office. And then I think Zion Young from Missouri with that, he had a sack in the game, but then that gigantic scoop and score to give Missouri the win is the other reason. So those are the two that I'm giving my sticker to.
Jesse?
I mean, Jalen Milrow. Come on. Come on. It's stupid. He broke Jalen Hurts' record. Come on. That's just silly. How
Yeah.
can you not pick him? He destroyed LSU at home at night. Insane. And then my other helmet sticker goes to Kirk Herbstreit because he's going through it. And dadgummit, if the rest of the world doesn't keep reminding him that he's going through it, and then they're bringing it up on national TV live multiple times, and he's just got to keep it together. I can't even keep it together. So Kirk Herbstreit, this helmet sticker's for you and Ben, and for the fact that you cried less on national TV than I did in my living room.
Right. Yeah, so I couldn't help but give it to Jalen Milrow as well. Obviously, just on a stage that big, a game that big, to have that performance. Like we said, only 109 yards in the air, but 185 on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Just an amazing performance. And then I got the Ole Miss defense, which just made Georgia's offense look silly. Well, sillier than they have. So, anyway, so kudos to them, and they get a helmet sticker on all their helmets. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get into an opinion segment.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so I've just put this out here, and I'm going to go through something real quick, and then I want to know y'all's opinion. So, NIL, and here's the opinion. NIL is in the process of making recruiters be more careful when looking at the type of person they want on their team. And let me expound a little bit. So we've talked about it in the past. Has NIL created the best version of college football that we've seen? Has NIL ruined college football? Well, I don't think you really have to choose between those two because I think both conditions can exist at different levels. You have to really know the players on a deeper level at this point. If you don't, you're taking a real chance because NIL is cultivating a culture of complacency, more so perhaps at these bigger schools, I believe, and shaking up the college football landscape. Don't believe me? Look at all the upsets. Look at undefeated Indiana. Look at Vandy this year, minus last week. Look at FSU struggling. Georgia isn't the same Georgia. We could say the same thing about many big programs this year. And the thing is, these kids are already getting paid. So here's where you have to be even more careful with recruiting. Once these kids get a big NIL deal, will they lose their edge? Or will it motivate them to try and solidify their legacy and obviously continue to work towards a better draft stock? If anything, it makes you work harder as a recruiter because you have to know these kids even better to kind of know where their heart is in that, which is a tough thing to measure, right? I think we're seeing a perfect example of this, and I'm going to single him out just because he's a quarterback on the team that I cheer for, but Carson Beck, where NIL has just absolutely affected them. And we can see that tangibly. You can just see it in the press conferences. He sort of laughs off the pointed questions every week and just says, we'll try harder. But then every week is more of the same struggles. But then think about it. How can you truly tell a kid that he needs to get his crap together when he's driving away from practice in a $350,000 Lamborghini?
At the speed limit, hopefully.
At the speed limit, hopefully. But in Athens, I wouldn't count on it. And it's super easy to get complacent. So, in my opinion, it really takes a different kind of kid to be a success in this modern NIL era. And therefore, as a recruiter, you got to be even more discerning than usual. I don't know, just throwing that out there. I know that's a lot, but what do y'all think?
Hmm.
That's a big bite of steak to digest there, Wes.
No, I know.
That I feel like that was a dissertation question. Like I don't feel like I can come up with a 30-second bite about how that works. I think you've got a point. I think there's a lot to be said about the relationship between recruiters and athletes at this point. And I also think that NIL thing can make kids complacent. I mean, I just signed this big old NIL deal with Ole Miss. Like, why do I need to worry about? I've already got guaranteed money, so to speak. And if I come in and kind of lay off for a bit, I'm still gonna get paid. So I mean, I can kind of see where that's coming from. But at the same time, most of these guys, especially your blue chippers, I would imagine most of them aren't going to be the complacent type. They're blue chippers for a reason. This is not something where you just wake up and be great. You have to grind at it every single day. I'm thinking of Houston County High School's quarterback, who I do radio for him, so I've seen him play every week, and I've seen how he's progressed over the last couple of years. And he got a big NIL deal from Memphis, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $600,000 or something crazy. Like, they backed up the truck to get him, and they took him over. They got him over places like Bama, Georgia, Tennessee. There were a whole bunch of schools that were after him, and that's a kid that grinds. Like, that's a kid that's definitely not going to allow himself to become complacent. So I think it's a mixed bag. I think you're going to have both ends of that particular spectrum.
Yeah. And maybe more key when you're talking to, because I know they speak with the coaches as well, to try to maybe pick the high school coach's brain as to what kind of work ethic does this kid have to maybe see how they're going to respond to a situation like that. Jesse, what do you think?
Well, I think there's just with NIL in general, especially as it changes almost weekly, right? Like, there is so much legally happening in this space that affects what we're going to continue to see. I think given the decision from the House versus NCAA that came out last month, and them combining the two cases and deciding that the NCAA and the Power Five schools were actually, their practices were a violation of antitrust laws and anti-competitive laws. So they are going to do a huge payout, but without getting too legalese, what their decision does is it paves the way for revenue sharing, and it paves the way for schools to be able to pay their players directly. It starts to professionalize this, what we've known as amateur sports. The players don't have the opportunity just yet, because I'm telling you, as things happen, there's going to be so many more cases that are going to come out. There's going to be Title IX cases. There's going to be labor cases that are going to come out. They're going to sue under different antitrust legislation and laws. But because the players don't have a union, there's no CBA, they can't advocate for themselves. Regardless of all that, because we are now seeing a potential for revenue sharing, I think there is a potential for schools to also have not only an interest in winning ball games, whether that be in football, men's basketball, women's basketball, softball, whatever it is, gymnastics, but they're now going to start to look for personalities that they can profit from because their profits are starting to get cut into because they were taking advantage of the name, image, and likeness of these athletes and profiting. And now the athletes are going to profit. But this decision is going to give them additional revenue streams if they're able to pay that player to do something and then take in more revenue. And what I mean by that is maybe they start to pay them for social campaigns. Maybe they start to do sweepstakes experiences. But additional revenue streams are about to open up for these universities with this decision and potentially with other decisions that are going to come down the line. And so there could be an interest where they're now thinking, okay, this kid has a really incredible personality. This kid can bring in a lot of NIL money. Are they the best player? I don't know. So having those like, grind kind of guys, sure, maybe they are the ones that are going to bring in that NIL money. But I think that's just another interesting factor to consider. I agree that I don't think ruining college football and making it the best that it's ever been are mutually exclusive ideas. I think it really does depend on the individual, but you're always going to have that regardless of NIL. And more than anything, I think it's the transfer portal. People want to play, in this sense, football. People want to play football at the next level. And we've all seen it in, anywhere from like T-ball all the way up through high school, college. If they have been told they are the best, or they just think they are the best, regardless of if they are, they're going to think that they deserve to play over everybody else. And they'll transfer. I think the transfer portal is much more affecting college football. Sure, NIL is, but if you have grown up an Alabama fan, a Tennessee fan, a Georgia fan, your entire life, and you want to be there, and they give you a little bit of NIL money, sure, I think you'll stay. But if you want to go somewhere because you simply just want to play, I mean, we saw it with JT Daniels.
He went everywhere, man.
He went everywhere. He's played in every single conference. But I think it's the transfer portal more than NIL. And I think NIL is just going to continue to be an evolving contributor that we have to learn about. It's going to trip people up. It's going to make some people better. It's going to cause inequities. It's going to cause important discussions, but it is changing constantly. So I would say that keep up on your NIL stuff. It changes, like I said, it changes daily. Keep up on it because it's not as cut and dry as I think a lot of the media makes it seem.
Yeah. And to your point, Jesse, these personalities that they're trying to bring in don't always benefit the team the most. And honestly, the players that usually benefit the team the most, not always, but many times are players that necessarily don't have the greatest personality. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I'm sure there's many that we could come up with, but Brock Bowers, not exactly the most striking personality, but the dude makes plays and he's not super interesting off the field, but I mean, who cares if you're, a football coach? So,
Jesse, let me ask you this question. Could you see potentially down the line a player getting recruited simply for social media engagement?
Yes. I think there are, I don't necessarily think it'll be at a Power 5 school, but a smaller school.
I had the nightmare scenario in my head of baby Gronk to like South Carolina just for social media engagement.
Right.
See, I'm seeing baby Gronk at like Colorado.
Yes, God. Yeah, that's
I mean, if we've seen anything, I think Dion would be the type of coach that would do it.
That's bold of you to assume that Dion's going to still be at Colorado in 15 years. It doesn't matter. He's going to be at Florida in 2 anyway, so it doesn't.
But it is one of those things that could, like you said, it will probably end up kind of evening itself out because I brought it up, so let's kind of keep in that vein of talking about Beck. He's seeing his draft stock plummet now, and I'm not saying that NIL is what's led to his down, regression or whatever, but could be. With that draft stock plummeting. NIL money doesn't last forever, y'all. And guess what? Lamborghini maintenance ain't cheap. So, motivation key. So, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there, and like you said, Jesse, there's going to be a lot to continue to look at this as it unfolds and continues to unfold and change every year.
I
So,
know we'll have to do an NIL episode because since we've done our last one, like in 2021, when it became a thing, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be helpful to talk through what exactly the rules are as it stands. Like the episode will be dated, but I think it's such a polarizing topic because I don't think people understand it. And that's people villainize something they don't understand, or they're excited about it because they don't understand it. And again, it's been pretty vague
right.
up until this point, and it's still very, very vague. We're going to continue to see it evolve, but the more you know.
Yeah, and it's going to be nuanced per player, I think. The experience.
Nuanced per player, it's nuanced per sport, it's nuanced per conference, per state, and per divisional level.
Yeah. All right, well, we've kind of beat that dead horse. Let's get into our Just for Fun segment, and it's getting to be that time of year. Thanksgiving is just right around the corner, so we've got a few new faces in the SEC coaching tree there. So what is each SEC coach bringing to Thanksgiving dinner? And Jesse, let's start with you. What is Eli Drinkwitz bringing to Thanksgiving dinner?
Thanksgiving dinner, I think Eli would bring like tater tots.
Tater tots.
Tater tot hot dish.
It's a tater tot hot dish, but not like in an exciting way. He was like, you know what? People are trying to tell me that like tater tots are not a Thanksgiving food, but here they are at Thanksgiving.
Here they are.
And he's gonna like try to make a really big point about it.
I guarantee you Drinky does not season anything.
No, he's the salt and pepper, and honestly, he makes pepper spicy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Pepper spicy.
Jeez.
See, that's what we call a callback. Talked about seasoning at the
beginning. Yes, we're right back to it.
There we go.
By the way, Wes, don't we have a plug for what's the shirt thing for? Go ahead, do it again.
Yeah, Blackbeard Spice. Go online, blackbeardspice.com.
Don't be Eli Drinkwitz. Season your food.
Don't be Eli. You can get your Blackbeard Spice.
Kirby Smart. I think for Thanksgiving, Kirby Smart is, I don't think he really likes turkey. I don't get that sense from him. And I don't disagree with, I don't either. I think he's just bringing a ham.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
Bringing a ham.
And I maintain that when Kirby busts through that front door, he's going to say,
all I want to do is eat.
Yes. He's in sweatpants.
I love that clip. I will never miss a chance to play
it. He's not coming to play. He is actually wearing sweatpants. He saves them all year. He's ready. Steve Sarkisian, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I think Steve is he's gonna bring the paper plates. Steve is bringing the paper products. Okay. Steve is doing something that is often overlooked. It's not the sexy job to bring the needed things.
But necessary. But
it's necessary. And I also think that Steve's going through it right now personally. So he's like, I don't have the mental capacity to cook. I'm picking up the paper plates.
No, him and his wife patched things up. They're back together is what I saw.
Did they?
She was at the game this past weekend with him. She walked off the field with him.
Oh, well then
unless I saw something else.
Busy elsewhere. So he's just picking up paper plates because he's mending fences. Good for them. We love that.
He's going to get the fancy paper plates though.
Yeah.
The sturdy ones that you can really pile a ton of food on.
Oh, they're like the Chinette ones.
Yeah.
They're not even paper. And he's not getting the styrofoam ones that when you weigh them down, they crunch in the middle.
Exactly.
Mike Elko. I think Mike Elko, and I'm just like pulling up pictures just to like make sure I get it. Mike Elko is your hot dish guy for sure. There's a casserole involved. I'm thinking it's something with cream of chicken soup in it. I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely a hot dish. He's a casserole man if I've ever seen one.
Casserole man.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And it's all like it's just dumped in, but it's good. Jeff Levy, again, I'm having to like pull up pictures of him. I think Jeff Levy brings hot wings.
Hot wings. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think he's like influenced by all those Buffalo Wild Wings commercials that we keep seeing, and he's getting B-dubs to go. And he's bringing that.
I love it. Matt, let's start with Kalen DeBoer. What's Kalen DeBoer bringing?
I just feel like Kalen DeBoer's going to show up with a really fancy bottle of wine. I don't know why. I know he's a good old boy from South Dakota, but it's the name DeBoer. It just sounds so hoity-toity. It just makes me think he's going to show, or maybe he'll show up with a box wine. Maybe he'll go to the other end of the spectrum. It'll just be a box of wine. Brian Kelly, staying with that alcohol thing. I think Brian Kelly shows up with a 12-pack of either Natty Light or Coors Light, so not even like a good beer. He gets like gas station beer. And definitely has pounded about 3 or 4 on the drive over. Just something about Brian Kelly's aesthetic kind of makes me think that way. Yeah, it might be the flush. Hugh Freeze is going to show up with like a $60 charcuterie board under plastic. Like just a bunch of meats and cheeses because he's convinced that's what you're supposed to bring. Even though that may not be what you're supposed to bring. Clark Lee's going to fry a turkey. He will probably burn down half of Nashville in pursuit of fried turkey, but I think Clark Lee's bringing a turkey. And then Billy Napier is just bringing a single, not even heated can of green beans because Billy Napier is staring down unemployment. And in this economy, you can't bring anything too expensive to Thanksgiving.
79 cents at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yep. And then who's next? Oh, yeah, Billy Napier. Sorry, I got lost there because I know that I put all 16 down, but I'm only counting 15. Anyways, y'all figure out who we missed while I read mine. Sam Pittman. All right, so I got Sam Pittman. He's cooking the turkey, but not only is he going to smoke the turkey on a top-of-the-line smoker, he's going to show up like a day in advance to start the smoking process, and it's just going to be that turkey that just melts in your mouth. So that's Sam. That's what he's going to do. Shane Beamer, he's in charge of condiments, mostly mayo, obviously.
Who forgot Lane Kiffin?
Yeah, and I feel like I did.
Oh,
I feel like I put him down here. I don't know if he got deleted somehow, but anyways,
we'll do him at the end. So all three of us pick something.
And then Josh Heupel. See, did y'all know that Arby's is offering the deep fried turkey gobbler and deep fried turkey club this Thanksgiving season? So he's bringing a tray of those. And then
that's because y'all don't have Wawa. If y'all had Wawa, they've been offering that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Mark Stoops, also in the theme of Did You Know, they make cranberry infused bourbon. So.
Why?
I'm going with that. Obviously, we've said Mark Stoops is a bourbon guy, and he's on theme with Thanksgiving, so he's bringing cranberry-infused bourbon.
I mean, it works.
Brent Venables. I don't know why, but the first thing that popped...
Brent's not coming to Thanksgiving. He's got other things to worry about.
The first thing that I thought about was turkey jerky. I don't know why, but that's just exactly what I thought. To your point, maybe he doesn't want to be there. He's just like, I just brought this stuff to eat it. All right, Lane Kiffin. Well, what do we got for Lane? Matt's covering his mouth. I feel like that
Lane's. Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Lane's bringing the 20-year-old FIMU girl he hooked up with last night.
Possibly. I mean, that's
so Natalie's a lovely girl.
Oh God, I hope Lane doesn't see. Lane, if you see this, we're big fans.
Big fans.
I think Lane's just honestly, I think he's stopping by the grocery store. He wasn't really worried about bringing anything. He didn't realize he needed to, and then somebody texted him and was like, "So what are you bringing?" And he's like, "Ugh." he's running by the grocery store really quick, and he's just gonna pick up one of the pound cakes from the bakery.
It's a smart play.
He
It's a
just
smart play.
he knows he's gonna, it's gonna sit there. Someone's gonna nibble on it. It's fine. It's not gonna make a fuss. And then also, no one can complain because he didn't come empty-handed. So he's pre-made pound cake.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good, and I think along those lines, I would probably just say he gets the assorted bag of candies, and then he just breaks open the bag and tries to neatly arrange it on some kind of tray or make it look fancy, like he really put forth some effort when he really didn't. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I assume. So, um, all
Wait, what
right.
did you say Shane Beamer was bringing?
Condiments,
Condiments.
mayo, obviously for him. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Um.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Mayo's for the next day when you make the turkey sandwiches.
turkey sandwiches.
You don't
That's
need. You don't
Thanksgiving
need.
food is terrible.
You
It's
don't.
so bad.
Whoa, hey, let's calm down with that kind of talk. Thanksgiving
bad.
food is great.
It's
you know
so
what?
beige. It's
I actually don't hate it when it's done right and seasoned, as we mentioned earlier. Second
Yes,
callback,
seasoning's
and
important.
however, I do like doing the different type of meals as we've done before as a family. I do enjoy switching it up. So typically, when we visit multiple families, I get to have a little bit of both. So that's nice. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about those games that are upcoming.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, so the first game we'll talk about is Texas 8-1, 4-1 in the SEC at Arkansas, 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC. That's noon on ABC. So in this one, I think Arkansas's got a chance, but sort of kind of has a history of letting you down in these type of situations. Taylor Green and Jaquindon Jackson help keep it close, but it's just a little too volatile. That offense is just feast or famine. They have great moments, but then have moments of where you're just scratching your head. Arkansas may enjoy a little success early in this one, but I think it'll come back down to earth. I think Ewers and Quintravion Wisner do enough here to get it done. I'm going Texas 31-21. Jesse?
Yeah, I unfortunately I would love to pick Arkansas in this, but I just can't. I think Texas continues to do what Texas does, and they take this one home pretty easily. I'm gonna pick the Longhorns 33-17.
All right, Matt?
I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I'm going to say Arkansas gets this thing going in this game, and they're within 3 points at the start of the fourth quarter. However, I do believe depth is going to come into play late, and I think Texas is going to pull away. So I like Texas 35-24.
All right, next is the UL Monroe Warhawks at 5-4 at Auburn 3-6, 12:45 on the SEC network. Yes, we're kind of getting into that portion of the season near the end where we're going to have some cupcakes on the schedule. No hate to UL Monroe, but you know what I mean. I think Auburn enjoys some success here against the ULM team that's lost their last 3 games against South Alabama, Marshall, and Texas State. By the way, you can go to this game for $5 right now if you want to.
Nice.
I'm going Auburn here 35-10. Jesse, what do you got?
I'm gonna do it.
What are you doing? What in the world?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick UL Monroe in this one.
Oh my.
This is not because I hate Auburn. This is because I just haven't seen Auburn show much life or identity. And I know that they're playing at Jordan Hare, but I think this is a close one. But I think UL Monroe sneaks it out. I'm gonna pick them 28-21. I could be absolutely wrong, but here we are.
This would have been approximately the time in the season last year when Auburn lost to New Mexico State, right? So not out of the realm of possibility. Matt?
Man, I just can't. A team that's lost to Texas State, Marshall, and who's the other team they lost to?
Texas State. Or South Alabama, Marshall, and Texas State.
Yeah, I can't see them losing to UL Monroe. I like Auburn here, 28-10.
Okay. All right, next is Murray State, the Racers, 1-9 at Kentucky, 3-6, 130 on ESPN Plus. Kentucky might actually be able to get some offense going here. I feel like Murray State might get a touchdown late in garbage time. I'm going Kentucky here, 42-7. Jesse?
Kentucky tries really hard to maybe make a bowl game. I'm going to pick Kentucky in this one, 35-6.
All right, Matt.
Murray State is just not going to be up to task here. You're going to have to send them to the glue factory is the only thing I can figure.
Oh.
Yeah. Kentucky's 38-10.
All right. Next is Mercer, 9-1 at Alabama, 7-2, 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Look, Mercer's putting together an impressive season, and I'm gonna do it. No, I can't do it. But their one loss is to mighty Samford, so that doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence either. Bama here in a no doubter. I'm going Bama 56-10. Jesse.
Yeah, I think we're on a high after this one. We're back at home. This is not even a tune-up game, but a just keep it going game. So I'm going to pick the Tide in this one, 51-6.
All right, Matt.
Y'all are not giving a lot of credit to the SoCon coach or the team that's already clinched Southern Conference in that particular realm of football. They've already won a share of the title anyhow. But remember that Bama has looked really good the last couple weeks, so I like Bama here too, 52-7. Poor Mercer.
All right. Next is LSU, 6-3, 3-2 in the SEC at Florida, 4-5, 2-4 in the SEC, 3:30 on ABC. So experts really considering that beatdown against Bama because LSU is only favored by 4 in this one. Now, DJ Lagway is expected to be back for Florida, so that changes things a little bit. No more ice cream eating quarterback on the sidelines. Florida's defense probably keep them in this one here, I think. But LSU's defense was awful last game, and they'll be looking to show they're better than that, I think. So I like LSU here, looking to atone for that embarrassing loss. I'm going to go LSU 28-24. Jesse?
I agree. I'm going to pick the Tigers in this one, but I don't think they're going to run away with it. They're in the swamp. Florida, like you said, Lagway could potentially play in this game. He should be back for this one. I think LSU was really frustrated and embarrassed coming out of this past week, but I think Florida puts up a little bit of a fight. So I'm going to pick LSU 24-21.
All
right, Matt, what you got?
I was originally going to go with LSU in a blowout here, but Lagway being back, I think that's at least good for a touchdown or two. So I like LSU here still, though, 38-24.
Okay. All right, next we have Missouri, 7-2, 3-2 in the SEC at South Carolina, 6-3, 4-3 in the SEC, 4:15 on SEC Network. We're at that time of year where a game at 4 or 4:30 might as well be a night game. South Carolina's got a lot of momentum here. Lenora Sellers, Rocket Sanders firing on all cylinders. Missouri is helped by Nate Noel getting more healthy. He was back last week, and they're kind of, hoping that he'll continue on that upward trend. Not sure if the starter for Mizzou is going to be Brady Cook or Drew Pine yet. Pine did just fine last week, but there's still some uncertainty there, obviously. I'm going to go with South Carolina here just because they've been on a roll. I'm going South Carolina 28-17. Jesse?
I agree with you. I think Mizzou was questionable last week against a questionable Oklahoma team. I think South Carolina is on a high. Lenora Sellers, Rocket Sanders are hitting their stride at the perfect time. And what we thought would be a very easy game for Mizzou at the beginning of the season is turning out to not be so much. I think coming out of this game, these two teams are going to have the same 7-3 record. So I'm going to pick the Gamecocks in this one, 31-21.
All right, Matt, what you got?
I'm picking Missouri. I listen. I know that we've said Sellers and Sanders have been looking good. I know that we've said that South Carolina is kind of coasting right now. But remember, it's Carolina. And earlier in the season, they were up, down, up, down, up, down. They've been up a couple weeks in a row. I think this is the down. I like Missouri here with some late game theatrics, 28-27. Drinky will have a soundbite. Beamer will look pissed, and will continue to keep rolling.
Is this your what would you call this game for you? Because it really
for
is.
me personally.
Oh yeah, gosh, I didn't think about that.
Let's call in the Nukes Bowl.
Oh, no.
Wow, we went straight to it.
just go ahead and irradiate the damn earth and call it a day. If it means I don't have to see those two joke wagons.
Who cares
anymore.
about the collateral damage? At least
Remember though, this is a Missouri team that was almost like completely shut out by Alabama and a South Carolina team that nearly beat them.
a transitive property of football. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't, which, transitive property of football is no longer a thing anymore this season, but
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things out there.
I don't know. I am excited to watch this one, and it's got a whole new dynamic when I consider that Matt hates them both. I love it.
It's fun.
Hate's not a strong. You need a $5 word for that. It's pure loathing at this point.
Pure loathing.
Nothing but vitriol.
Speaking of loathing and vitriol, Tennessee 8-1, 5-1 in the SEC at Georgia 7-2, 5-2 in the SEC. 7:30 on ABC. Honestly, I don't have any of that. I've kind of already made peace with the state of Georgia football right now, so I think I'm going to be good no matter what happens here. But I'm done making picks for Georgia to try to offset the universe. Like, what's going to happen? Like, if I do this, then this will happen. Like, I somehow have an effect on things. This one's going to be a battle of defenses, I think. Also a battle of unrealized potential on offense. Georgia's just utter lackluster performances by pretty much all the running backs and the lack of a dominant receiver. Tennessee, on the other side, having some great numbers rushing, but I don't think Nico has quite gotten to that level that they think he should be able to get to so far. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn.
No.
But this one is a coin flip for me. Even though for some reason the experts are picking Georgia by 9, I don't really see that. But the only reason I'm picking Georgia here is because this time they are the ones who have to win, and Tennessee will be fine with a loss. And it's at home.
You hope. We hope.
And it's at home. So I'm going Georgia here, 31-24. Jesse, what do you got?
Not so fast, my friends. I think that despite the loss shaking up Georgia and, them bouncing back from a loss after losing to Alabama, I know it's at home. I know it's at night. I get it. I know all of these things, but I am more confident in the Tennessee offense than I am in the Georgia offense. I absolutely agree. It's going to be a very big defensive battle.
Ooh.
I think that, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm making sure that my offensive line is going to hold up, but I think that Josh Heupel is going to watch a lot of film and he's going to see a lot of holes. And I think he's going to recognize that Dylan Sampson is about to destroy Georgia on the edges. Okay. I could be very wrong in this, and that is okay. I don't like either of them, but I think Tennessee goes in there, and I think they do it in Athens. I'm going to pick the Vols in this one, 35-31.
All right. Matt said amen. What do you got?
Listen, Jesse, just to go ahead and throw this out there, I appreciate your vote of confidence. If that happens, and Wes, I will be nice to you because you've always been nice to me, but I am going to be the most unsufferable son of a gun in the South if Tennessee finds a way to beat Georgia. From your lips to God's ear. Anyway, I keep going back and forth on this. I got the logical part of my brain that's kind of looking at this and going, here's what could happen. Here's what could happen. This is what could happen. And then the heart of me being a Tennessee fan, I don't know if the hat gave it away, what I think's going to happen. Because here's one of two things. One, Tennessee finally, we've got an elite defense. We have been able to shut down people left and right all season. This is a Georgia offense that has been vulnerable for a month and a half at this point. If Tennessee can find a way to get the pass game to match up with the run game, and you can get the play action in a situation where you can start bombing people over the top, I think Tennessee could win this thing by 2 touchdowns. I think that could happen. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though. I think Nico's still a freshman. I think that this is still a Georgia defense. And like I said earlier in the show, Kirby Smart hasn't lost a back-to-back SEC game since 2017. It's been a minute. And Wes said, their backs against the wall. They lose this game, that pretty much takes them out of contention for the playoff. There's a lot riding on this, and Georgia historically, under Kirby Smart, has found ways to win ball games when they've been backed into a corner. I don't want to do this call, but I feel like I got to go with Georgia here, 24-20. Oh,
I'm
All
also
right.
just going to try to beat you guys in the pick 'em, and I'm just like, if I pick against you,
Against-
I have a higher chance of
ah.
winning.
That's right. All right, and then the final game of the week: New Mexico State Aggies 2-7 at Texas A&M 7-2. The Battle of the Aggies, I suppose. 7:45 p.m. on the SEC Network. I really don't have anything to say about this one. I'm just going to pick the score. I got A&M, the A&M Aggies, 42-13. Jesse.
So much agriculture will be happening. I'm going to pick Texas A&M in this one, 38-10.
All right, Matt.
40-10. Give me A&M.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's show. We appreciate everyone listening. If you would like to contact us, please email us at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We are at Pigskins and Pageantry on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And we're at PPSEC Podcast on X. And
Twitter!
Don't forget, we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and review. We love those 5 stars. Help us have an increasing chance of communicating with wonderful people like yourselves. But yeah, lots of big matchups coming up this weekend. Until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
In the words of the sweet Jalen Milrow, roll tide.
I'm gonna go to a dark place here and quote an internet meme. Dylan Sampson, please stunt on these hoes. Go Vols.